This is the Reluctant Leader podcast, created because, through no fault of your own, you've become one. I'm your host, Mark Terrell, and I know how it feels when you're getting ground down by people issues, constantly firefighting and wondering how on earth you ended up here. In each episode, I invite a guest to discuss a topic and give you 3, sometimes more, top tips that will help you in your leadership role. They are experts in the field, and you'll find out why they do what they do and what took them down that path. For more resources to help you on your leadership journey, check out thereluctantleader.academy, where you'll find details of how to join the Reluctant Leader Success Path. So let's see who's in the hot seat this week. Today I'm talking to Niki Matyjasik. As a business buddy, Niki helps business owners and small teams achieve more in their business. With a fresh perspective, creative ideas, and the ability to quickly identify valuable changes, she helps build the momentum to drive a business forward. With a strong background in sales, marketing, and buying, and years of experience working with small businesses, Niki has helped many teams grow by introducing consistent processes and structures that work, and also provides business advice and practical support to implement. Niki has been a small business owner and understands firsthand the challenges they face, so she doesn't leave her clients with an overwhelming to-do list. She rolls up her sleeves and helps them achieve their month's goals. And by keeping them accountable, the team feels supported and the business makes consistent and measurable progress. Hope you enjoy this chat we had about masterminds, and I'll catch you all on the other side. Niki, welcome to the Reluctant Leader podcast. I've been looking forward to this, as I do with all my guests. I was lucky enough to be part of your mastermind some time ago, and I'm a big fan of the concept. But before we get into talking about what masterminds are and the benefits and all that stuff, the question I always ask my guests is, why do you do what you do, and what was the pivotal moment that took you down that path?
Yeah, okay, thanks. So my business is Business Buddy, and I also offer masterminding through my business Enact. And essentially, I came to what I do in my business really from visiting a networking group called Women Mean Biz. And I came into that not really knowing where my next steps were actually on my business journey. I just exited a business and was really looking for my way forward. And what I was able to see and find at that moment through meeting these women in business was actually by listening to them what they were looking for. So they were feeling overwhelmed and frustrated. They were busy but not making progress. And actually what I was able to do was develop my offering of not just being sort of a coach or a mentor in business, but actually providing support and focus, kind of holding their hand and really helping them on their business journey. That was a really pivotal moment, I think, right at the beginning of my journey, is starting to help those business owners, small business owners, onto the next stage of where they wanted to be, and consistently.
Okay, good. So we're talking about masterminds today, and I mentioned that I've been involved with Enact in the past, and I think the first thing we should do before we crack on is that there are different flavors of masterminds. So what is it that you what's involved with your mastermind? What's the structure, and why is that structure in place?
Yeah, so the masterminding sessions that I run are actually tailored for small business owners. So one-man band, sole traders, they're actually not in a place where it would be an employed or employer situation. You need the person in the room who's there ultimately making the decisions in the business. And we actually structure the sessions in a way that's highly facilitated. So I lead and facilitate each of the sessions. And I ask those business owners to really forget everything that's happened in that day or gone before, and actually really in the moment ask them to look at where they would score their businesses in certain different areas of their business. So where we focus is really around sales and marketing, people, operations and finance, which for a lot of businesses are the 4 key wheels that they need to move forward. So yeah, that's kind of the structure that we start with. Yeah.
Right. And I guess, and it's something I definitely got when I was part of the group, is that it's a part of belonging to something, and also having a support group that you can lean on as and when you feel you need it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get to work with quite a lot of small business owners, and that could be one-on-one, or it could be in our group masterminding scenario, or both. Mm-hmm. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of business owners are looking for that support network. It's like they have their own team in place, because everyone we have around the room, the members that we have in the room they've all got a certain level of expertise, knowledge, perspective, and different aspects. So one could be operationally strong, one could be HR strong, one could be marketing strong. And with all of that together, they do feel really supported. And they've got each other's back, if you like. They're really invested in each other as businesses to help them move forward, to say, how are you getting on? How's that working? Do you need to talk through anything? It is a really supportive group.
Yeah, so what you've described there is actually bringing each other's knowledge together and sharing it within that environment. And obviously, when you share knowledge within a group of maybe 6 or 8 people, then that sort of expands into something even more, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because these groups are coming, or a group is coming together consistently month on month, I have some people still in my groups that have been there for 3 years. So they're consistently learning about each other's groups. And what unfolds is, oh gosh, I didn't know that you did that in your career or that in your business. So people are drawing on lots of different experiences and knowledge, and just how they would deal with situations in business from their, the solutions that they give. So, yeah, it's a real, really does develop over the time that they work together.
Yeah. And I come across a lot of the clients that I work with is that feeling of being a bit isolated, lonely, and all that, which comes with being a business owner. And I guess that's another key thing around masterminds, is that you're spending time with like-minded people, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, that isolated part is a really good point. A lot of business owners do, as much as they want to run their own business, they do feel as though they are on their own. And I find as a group, they are able then to kind of help support people build their confidence and build their self-belief in what they're doing. And just bring that ongoing consistent development for themselves. So from feeling isolated, they end up actually coming out of that a bit more and building in confidence. So it's got lots of benefits, really.
Yeah, and I think when you're in that sort of environment, you want it's almost that reciprocity thing, isn't it? If you're getting people that are helping you, your natural instinct is that you want to help other people, whichever way that is, and that just sort of builds a momentum, I guess, doesn't it? It brings people on and makes people think a bit bigger. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yeah, actually, it again, because they're consistently coming together month on month, they might be working on quite a big project and they need to break it down. Or because they are working through parts of their business where they're completing those actions and those accountables that are in place, it frees up their headspace in order to go, right, that's actioned in my business, that's covered. I can now open my thinking to those bigger projects. And as we said, because you're working as a group, almost a support network, somebody is working alongside you, knowing exactly what you're talking about, because you're on that journey with them. You're on that journey together. So those bigger projects that bigger thinking does really start to evolve and unfold, really. I work with a group now, for example, who, where they were at the beginning of the year to where they are now, the things that they're now putting into place and achieving, they wouldn't have even thought of at the beginning. So it really does help open that space for business owners.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy years back that talked about the strength of mastermind. I'm not very good at recalling these things. You might be better than me, but it's one of those concepts that, it's only when you actually experience it that you suddenly realize that, this is really powerful stuff. And I think what we obviously get from it is that accountability, isn't it? It's we are not particularly very good at keeping ourselves accountable. But when we've got a group that we have stated, and I know this is part of the way that, the structure of an act is structured, that the important bit at the end is that you have accountability, and you make some commitments. And that's the thing that when you commit to other people, you're more likely to do it, aren't you?
Sure, you don't want to be that person who comes to the group the following month and go, "Oh no, I didn't do it. I didn't have time," or whatever. But yeah, actually, for sure, they by having that consistent accountability, it really does help stay on focus, stay on track, and see the results that they're looking for. I always ask people not to not to let each other off the hook, because it's quite easily done if no one's looking, or you put something to the list for next week, for example. But I always say to people, as in members in the group as well, do challenge each other, because what you'll end up leaving with today are those accountables that you're going to take forward in the month ahead. And you want to make sure they're realistic and achievable, but they're also, challenging you and stretching you to, like you were just saying, that bigger thinking and moving forward. So, it's it does challenge for sure, but it keeps people on track and gets them where they want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you got any examples of that you can share? Obviously not actually naming anybody in particular, but some examples of how people have really sort of embraced this concept and probably achieved far more than they would ever have had if they hadn't had that environment to pull on.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've had members who have written their own book. I've had members who have redeveloped their offering. I've had members who have taken on gone into partnership. I've had members who have dissolved partnerships. There's a whole array of things that we can be faced with. Whether it be pricing or what client targets we want to achieve or ideal clients. We really do cover a lot of them. So those are just some examples. Getting planned for 12 months in advance, when before they were very much, yes, I need to think about what I'm planning and doing next. I've got people who are now planning way into next year. So it really does help in all aspects, because when those members come to the meeting each month, they've worked through last month's challenge, they've worked through those solutions and those accountables, and they're ready for the next challenge in the business, or situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a challenge, but the next situation to help them really excel to where they want to be. So that's just a few examples, but there's so many. Yeah.
So how often do your groups meet?
Yeah, so we meet once a month, and everyone's really invested in the element that is the same day of the month each month. So they really can, so the second Tuesday of each month, for example, so they really can get into the flow and the structure of knowing how they can bring that into their business and plan accordingly. So monthly really does help that consistency.
Yeah. And is it, do you encourage like sort of connection out of the, in between meetings as well? Is that part of the concept?
Yeah, in two ways, really. So we have a private Facebook group for each of the groups anyway. So they do interact in that consistently, whether they're sharing how they're getting on, or a podcast that they've listened to, or a book they've read, or a talk that they're going to. We also buddy up. So within the group, each member will have their own designated buddy for the month, and we tend to keep those together for 3 months. But also as well, those groups, those members do network together outside of the group, and work together on each other's businesses sometimes. So it's not just what happens in the group. There are lots of collaborations and continuity of time spent together outside of the group as well. Yeah.
And I guess this is all about developing relationships, isn't it? So that there's more trust, and with trust comes, more openness, and that allows other things to develop, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I do encourage, particularly, with new members coming in as well. I do encourage each one in the group to, grab a coffee together outside of this group, so you can get to know each other more about your businesses and maybe quicker. So that does happen as well. Bit like networking in that sense. They do get to know each other outside, and this is probably just another added benefit. So they then do start to refer each other too. So it's got lots of layers of benefits in terms of being part of the group. Really, it's not just what happens in the room on the day.
That's funny. Just as you said referring, I was writing it down, and I thought, I'll ask about that, because it seems like the natural thing to do. Because when you when you get to know somebody and you know what they do, and in quite a bit of detail, it does put you in a great position to refer people, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it could happen as a solution within the room, for example. We're so involved and ingrained in what we're trying to solve in our business, we don't actually think, someone here could help me. So that could be one solution. So that's one level of referral. But yeah, just knowing each other and each other's businesses, it really does strengthen your offering, or your kind of relationships you've got to be able to refer out to others, because you've built up, like, as you say, that trust, that relationship, and getting to know each other's businesses really well. You're like a team. Yeah,
and obviously this is an opportunity to work on your business rather than in it, because most business owners are heads down, let's get this task done, get through the day. That doesn't really move us forward. It gets things done, but ultimately what we need to do is make sure we spend time planning and working on our business, which is where businesses or business owners start to suffer if they're not actually devoting that sort of time to having a bit of a helicopter view over their business, and it's really valuable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I get to meet businesses at all different stages, whether they've been in business for 12 months or 30 years. And we, as business owners, do end up having to cover so much. So not only offering that service, but also everything that goes on behind the scenes. And right back at the beginning, when we started talking, the clients I come across, or the business owners I come across, are busy, not making progress. They're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling frustrated. They've got so much to do because they're doing just that. They're kind of in their business, head down for such a large amount of time, actually working on the business, kind of just gets pushed to the side, really. So these groups, once I think the time is realised that actually I need something needs to change here, those groups really do give you that opportunity to be working on it, even if it's just bite-sized chunks to begin with, and really chipping away at something that is causing you pain or challenge in your business. Just even chipping away at that can really start to change people's concept on, right, I need to spend more time working on these areas that are going to take my business forward and not leave me in this situation.
Yeah. And I think that's a good lead on, actually, to look a bit more detail in. You mentioned earlier about the sort of 4 elements you look at, and just remind us of what those 4 sections are for.
Yeah, so when we come together, I ask everyone in the room. So each person gets an act slot, as we call it, a time on their business, and I ask them to look at sales and marketing. I ask them to look at operations. So that's your systems, processes, structure, everything you have in business to have in place in your business to run effectively. People, so that could be yourself. It could be something that you're doing and challenging yourself or blocking yourself to move forward. Or it could be clients, it could be suppliers, it could be your network, that kind of thing. It could be friends and family. It covers a whole host of things. Or it could be, or the 4th area we cover is finance. So it could be cash flow. It could be, how much you're charging. It could be payment terms. It could be accounting. There's a number of things we cover in that area. And I ask them to look at each of those areas in the moment and score them out of 10. So that in itself is a really interesting process of where they actually end up to where they felt they were when they actually came into the room that afternoon, because I'm asking them in the moment. It does change. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And I guess as the conversation develops, then they might feel a bit different about things by the questions they ask. And I guess that's the next thing, isn't it? We talk about this hot seat situation. You get the hot seat, and everybody else in the room gets to ask questions.
Yeah, that's right.
And I can remember that, that, right, okay, I'm now open to questions scenario. And that's the most important thing, I think, in that moment is to actually just shut up and listen sometimes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, when just leading on before the questions, I will ask the business owner, one of those scores will naturally be the lowest score out of each of those areas. And I ask them to talk me through, why is that? What is it? What sort of challenge do you have? Mm-hmm. And at that point, myself and the room needs, I ask them to let that business owner talk. What is it? Help them really get to the root of the problem, but the root of the question. But also as well, when we do move into our questions stage of asking some more information about that area in someone's business, asking them to stop, give that person space, time, listen. It's a learning for both sides, actually, to not want to jump in or give suggestions there and then or that kind of thing. It's a learning in itself in the format that we use, really. Yeah,
and I can see how that would work, because I think if you are asking a question of somebody else, are they doing such and such, you can't help but check in with yourself to say, well, I'm asking this person whether they're doing this, but am I actually doing that for myself? And so it's almost like, you got to hold yourself accountable at the same time to think, well, it's all very well me saying, well, maybe you should be doing this, but actually, am I actually doing that myself? And that's a realization, isn't it?
Totally. And that's a really good point, actually. And even myself as a leader of the group, I'll go, oh gosh, that's a good idea. That's a good solution. I need to look at that. But I think, certainly as the group, they will take away solutions for their own area in their business. But because we've got 5 to 6 members in a group normally, because you're helping them work on each one of them helping to work on an area in their business, someone may provide a solution, and actually that's something you need to look in your business at some stage. So you end up jotting it down as well, because you feel, well, actually I could do that. So sometimes you end up leaving with a lot more than you expected. But yeah, for sure, it's a really great way to get some really good ideas and solutions that you might use in the future or address when you leave. So yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's coming into the room as well with the right attitude, mindset, and that's important, is it? To obviously to give value, but also to be open enough to actually listen to others, so that you take on board what you need to take on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And the format is designed to, I always ask everyone to arrive at half an hour earlier than before we're due to start, because that allows everyone to get those conversations out, if you like. Or I've had a bad morning, or this has happened in the business, or I've just taken a phone call and this has happened, or just really helping them talk through the situation. So as soon as we start, everyone's cleared out what they need to talk about. Because everyone does come with something that's happened that day. And it allows them, as soon as we start, to really be in that right mindset. Okay, I know what I've got to look at here and what I'm going to be talking about, and I'm open to then helping others in the room. So it really does help get people in the right mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're rapidly running out of time, sadly, but I think before I know time goes by so quickly, but before we do wrap up and ask you for those top tips that we always ask for, what do you see? You mentioned at the beginning that you do some coaching and sort of one-to-one work. What do you see as the biggest difference between, the one-to-one coaching as opposed to masterminding?
Gosh, I do experience and know a lot of businesses who, because of the stage that they may be at in their business, actually that one-to-one, really getting really into the detail of what's going on in their business is what they need to start with. And once they feel as though they can see the wood for the trees and really have just a better handle on all those areas in their business, they're more ready to get into an area like masterminding, because they've got that headspace they've cleared and they're moving on to a bigger part of their business. So the masterminding can come in really well at that stage, because it's help because of where they've got to in their business. So right back earlier, I was saying people might not feel confident. They might not have the belief in themselves and their business, or, they're too busy. They don't have the headspace to be talking about everybody else's business. They really just want to focus on their own. And I see that a lot. I do see that a lot, where people just want to focus on themselves, and then they're ready to take that into their business next. Yeah, it's a really good stepping stone.
Yeah, and I guess people don't want to feel what's the right word? They just want to go into this situation with others that they feel confident, and I guess they don't want to look foolish, do they? And when you're on, there's less at stake when it's one-to-one. That you can, get to a point where you can share things, which there's bound to be stuff, I guess, as well, that you wouldn't want to share in that environment, but you would definitely share with someone on a one-to-one basis. It's finding where that level is for each person, I guess.
Yeah, and of course, when, if there is a scenario of sensitivity or challenge for yourself that you're working through on a one-to-one basis, if you work through that consistently and get to the end result that you're looking for, when you come to a masterminding group, you've got that amazing experience to draw on to then help others. So sometimes it works, it needs to work in that way, that you need to experience it yourself first so that you can then share and help with others to help them in that area. So, much, Mark. There's so much.
Yes, that's right.
I could talk for ages.
Yeah, indeed. But unfortunately, we haven't got ages, and
no, I'm sorry.
Time is unfortunately running out. So, and I always ask all my guests to finish off with some top tips. I normally say 3, and some people want to give more, but feel free if you want to. But what would those three tips be to anybody that you've described your typical person that joins your mastermind is someone that's working for themselves? So what would those top tips be?
Gosh, I would certainly say in business and people I come across, know your numbers, understand your numbers. I know it sounds very straightforward, but actually understanding, your conversion rates, how many people you need to see, how many inquiries come through, what's working for you, and understanding those turnover and cash flow numbers, even if it's a base understanding, start to be familiar with those, because that can really, really help on a consistent basis monthly to have a handle on what's happening in your business. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Secondly, I would say accountability, for sure. Finding the right method that works for you to stay accountable, so that with what you say you're going to do, that is achieved consistently each month to help you get the results that you're looking for. So it could be a coach, it could be a mentor, it could be a masterminding group, it could be your networking group, it could be a trusted accountability buddy, so to speak. I had someone the other day who's got a friend that works really well for them. But, having that in place, again, can work so well for businesses to have a sounding board, have a space, but help them stay accountable to move forward. And my third top tip is fortune is in the follow-up on inquiries you get, on conversations you have, on relationships you've built. It can take up to 8 touch points from your inquiry to someone actually converting. So, if you haven't heard from somebody after the first, 1 or 2 follow-ups, don't give up, keep sort of touching base with them in a gentle but consistent way, to get the right outcome and the answers that you're looking for. So follow up for sure really does help convert those inquiries that you weren't expecting to convert. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for your time today, Niki. I greatly appreciate it. I'm sure you've given some great value and some great tips there. And so until next time we meet either online or maybe in real life, have a great day, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out thereluctantleader.academy. And if you get a chance, please leave a review on whichever platform you have been listening. And also share the love by sharing the episode with someone who would benefit. Leadership is a choice. If you have the right mindset, know the process to follow, and the key skills to use at each point in the process, you have everything you need to leave a lasting legacy. Don't forget to put into action anything that has struck a chord in this episode. And until next time, be the best you can be.